What if I told you that 5 common foods sitting in your kitchen right now could quietly damage your brain, steal your memory, and even raise your risk of stroke while you sleep? No warning, no pain. Just one day you wake up and something feels wrong. Your balance is off, your speech is slurred, or your memory feels like it's slipping away piece by piece. As a brain doctor, I've seen far too many older adults suffer strokes, memory loss, and cognitive decline. Not because of genetics or smoking, but because of foods they thought were healthy. Today, I want to walk you through 5 common foods that could harm your brain cells, raise your blood pressure, or quietly damage your memory. If you're over 60, this might just save your life. Before we begin, tell me in the comments, have you ever questioned if your daily foods could harm your brain? Type 1 if yes, 0 if this is all new to you. And if brain health matters to you or someone you love, don't forget to like this video and subscribe for honest, science-backed health tips. Let's start with the first food, white bread. You've probably heard white bread is not great for weight loss or diabetes. But here's what almost no one tells you. White bread can damage your brain and memory by silently raising your blood sugar and inflaming your brain cells. Let me share the story of Mr. Robert James. He was 68, a retired architect from Texas. Every morning he started his day with 2 slices of toasted white bread, butter, and jam. "It's quick, easy, and gives me energy," he told me. But within a few months, Robert noticed his memory was slipping. He couldn't remember the names of his old colleagues. He walked into rooms and forgot why he went there. He laughed it off as old age until one morning he got lost driving to his daughter's house, a route he'd taken for 20 years. When he came to my clinic, his blood sugar was borderline diabetic, and his brain scans showed signs of early small vessel damage. Tiny blood vessels in his brain becoming narrow and stiff. Here's what was happening. White bread is made from refined flour, stripped of fiber and nutrients. When you eat it, it quickly spikes your blood sugar. High blood sugar damages the delicate lining of your brain's blood vessels, leading to poor circulation, brain fog, and eventually memory loss or even mini-strokes. Studies show that seniors who eat high glycemic foods daily have a significantly higher risk of cognitive decline and Alzheimer's disease. I asked Robert to swap his morning bread with whole grain toast topped with avocado or boiled egg. Within weeks, his energy stabilized, his memory improved, and he felt sharper in conversations with his grandchildren. Be honest. Do you eat white bread daily? Type bread in the comments if yes. Now, let's talk about the second food, processed cheese. You've probably seen those bright yellow slices neatly packed in plastic. They melt beautifully on toast, burgers, and sandwiches. But here's the hidden danger. Processed cheese can quietly harm your brain, clog your arteries, and raise your stroke risk overnight. Let me tell you about Mrs. Anita Patel. She was 73, a retired maths teacher from New Jersey. She loved grilled cheese sandwiches for lunch, using 2 slices of processed cheese every day. "It's quick, tasty, and fills me up," she said with a smile. But over the years, Anita started feeling heavy-headed and dizzy in the afternoons. One day, while gardening, she suddenly lost balance and fell, injuring her hip. Her brain scans showed signs of mini-strokes, small blockages in her brain's blood vessels. Here's why processed cheese is dangerous. It contains high amounts of saturated fats, sodium, and artificial additives. These raise your blood cholesterol, narrow your brain arteries, and increase blood pressure, creating a perfect storm for strokes and memory loss. What shocked Anita the most was learning that processed cheese is not real cheese. It's a mix of leftover dairy fats, emulsifiers, salt, and coloring agents, giving it that smooth texture and bright color. I asked her to replace it with natural cheese, like feta or goat cheese, in small amounts, alongside leafy greens or olives for lunch. Within months, her dizziness faded, her blood pressure improved, and her doctor reduced her cholesterol medication. Tell me, Do you use processed cheese slices at home? Type cheese if yes. If you thought white bread and processed cheese were dangerous, wait until you hear about the next food, one that many seniors eat daily believing it's heart healthy, but it could actually damage your brain cells and trigger silent strokes overnight. If you thought white bread and processed cheese were dangerous, just wait until you hear about this next food. This is something many older adults eat every single day, thinking it's good for their heart. But the truth is, it could silently damage your brain cells, stiffen your arteries, and increase your risk of a stroke overnight. Let's talk about margarine. You've probably heard margarine is healthier than butter because it has less saturated fat. But here's what almost no one tells you. Most margarines, especially stick margarines, are made with partially hydrogenated oils, creating trans fats. Trans fats are one of the worst things for your brain. They increase bad cholesterol, lower good cholesterol, and create inflammation inside your blood vessels, including those in your brain. Let me tell you about Mr. William Harris. He was 75, a retired banker from Chicago. Every morning he spread margarine on his toast, believing he was making a heart-healthy choice. "It's what my doctor told me years ago," he said. But over time, William began feeling unsteady on his feet. He couldn't think clearly during his bridge games, and he often forgot where he put his keys or wallet. His family thought it was just aging, but during a routine checkup, we discovered his cholesterol was out of balance, and a brain scan revealed small vessel disease, tiny blockages in his brain's blood supply. When I asked him about his diet, the daily margarine stood out immediately. Here's why. Trans fats in margarine don't just raise your cholesterol, they cross the blood-brain barrier and settle in brain cell membranes, affecting how neurons communicate. This leads to memory problems, brain fog, and increases your risk of Alzheimer's and strokes. I advised William to switch to pure butter in small amounts or use olive oil on his toast instead. 3 months later, his blood tests improved, his mind felt sharper, and he told me with a smile, "I feel like my brain woke up again." Do you still use margarine at home? Type margarine in the comments if yes. Now, let's move to the fourth food, one that almost every household keeps in the fridge or pantry. It's processed meats. Things like bacon, sausages, deli meats, and hot dogs. They're quick, tasty, and easy to cook, which is why many older adults include them in breakfast or sandwiches. But here's the hidden danger. Processed meats are high in sodium, preservatives, and nitrites, which damage the inner lining of your blood vessels. Let me share the story of Mrs. Helen Crawford. She was 79, a retired nurse from Georgia. She loved having turkey slices or bacon with her morning eggs. But slowly, she started feeling weak on her left side. One morning, her husband noticed her speech was slurred, and she couldn't smile evenly. They rushed to the hospital, and doctors confirmed she'd had a mild stroke. When I reviewed her diet, I found that her daily processed meats were flooding her body with sodium and nitrites, raising her blood pressure and damaging her brain artery. Studies show people who eat processed meats daily have a much higher risk of dementia and stroke due to these chemicals affecting brain blood flow. I advised Helen to replace processed meats with fresh chicken breast, grilled fish, or lentil patties. Within weeks, her blood pressure stabilized and her energy levels improved. Do you eat processed meats daily? Type meats in the comments if yes. Finally, let's talk about the fifth food. This is something most people think is harmless. It's packaged instant noodles. Quick to cook, cheap, and filling, instant noodles are a go-to meal for many seniors living alone. But here's the shocking truth. Instant noodles contain high sodium, refined carbs, and preservatives like TBHQ, which has been linked to neurotoxicity in animal studies. Let me tell you about Mr. Frank Lewis. He was 72, a retired security officer from Nevada. Living alone, he often made instant noodles for dinner. It's easy. Just add hot water, he said. But over time, Frank started feeling constant headaches, fatigue, and brain fog. He struggled to remember appointments and even forgot to pay his electricity bill twice. His blood pressure readings were high, and tests showed his cholesterol levels were worsening despite him being slim. Here's why instant noodles are dangerous. The combination of refined carbs and sodium causes blood sugar spikes and dehydration, reducing blood flow to your brain. The additives used for long shelf life may also damage your gut health, affecting your mood and memory through the gut-brain axis. I advised Frank to replace instant noodles with whole grain pasta, brown rice, or simple vegetable soups with lentils. A month later, he felt clear-headed, his headaches disappeared, and his blood pressure dropped by 8 points. Do you eat instant noodles every week? Type noodles in the comments if yes. Now that you've learned about these 5 foods that can silently harm your brain, you might be wondering, what should I eat to keep my brain healthy and strong as I age? In the next part, I will share simple, natural, and affordable foods that protect your brain, improve your memory, and reduce stroke risk without expensive supplements or complicated diets. Now that you know about these 5 common foods that can silently harm your brain, you're probably thinking, if I stop eating them, what should I eat instead to keep my brain strong, my memory sharp, and my risk of stroke low? That's a great question, because the truth is, your brain doesn't need expensive superfoods or complicated diets. It needs simple, natural, and balanced foods that provide the right nutrients in the right amounts. Let me walk you through some of the best brain-protecting foods I recommend to my older patients. Let's start with leafy greens. Spinach, kale, and collard greens are packed with folate, vitamin K, and antioxidants. These nutrients protect your brain cells from damage and keep your blood vessels flexible. Take Mrs. Linda Matthews. She was 69, a retired music teacher from Ohio. She often complained of forgetfulness and feeling low in energy. She didn't like vegetables much, saying they were too bland. I suggested she add a handful of spinach to her morning omelet or blend kale into a fruit smoothie. Within 3 weeks, she felt her mind was sharper, her mood lifted, and she even started remembering her piano pieces without checking her notes. She told me, "I never knew greens could do this much for my brain." Do you eat leafy greens daily? Type greens in the comments if yes. Next, let's talk about berries. Blueberries, strawberries, and raspberries are rich in polyphenols and antioxidants that reduce inflammation and protect your brain from aging. Let me tell you about Mr. Peter Kahn. He was 74, a retired shop owner from Michigan. He always felt mentally tired by afternoon. Instead of reaching for biscuits with tea, I advised him to have a small bowl of blueberries and walnuts. After 2 weeks, he called me and said, "Doc, my brain feels like it's been polished. I don't feel that afternoon fog anymore." Berries help improve communication between brain cells and reduce oxidative stress, which is one of the main causes of memory decline. Do you include berries in your diet? Type berries in the comments if yes. Now, let's talk about fatty fish. Salmon, sardines, and mackerel are excellent sources of omega-3 fatty acids. Omega-3s help build brain cell membranes and reduce inflammation, which lowers your risk of Alzheimer's and stroke. Take Mr. Darrell Simmons, for example. He was 77, a retired bus driver from New York. He never liked fish and mostly ate fried foods. But after his mini stroke, I encouraged him to try grilled salmon twice a week, seasoned with lemon and herbs. 2 months later, his follow-up scans showed improved blood flow in his brain, and he told me, "I feel calmer, my memory is better, and I even sleep deeper at night." Do you eat fatty fish weekly? Type fish in the comments if yes. Next, let's talk about nuts and seeds. Almonds, walnuts, flax seeds, and chia seeds provide vitamin E, magnesium, and healthy fats that nourish your brain. Mrs. Gloria Tan, 71 from California, used to feel her hands trembling slightly, and she often forgot where she kept her reading glasses. I advised her to replace her evening cookies with a small handful of mixed nuts and add flax seeds to her oatmeal. Within a month, her tremors reduced, and she felt more confident remembering her appointments and grocery lists. She said, "It feels like my brain woke up." Do you eat nuts or seeds daily? Type nuts in the comments if yes. Finally, let's talk about whole grains. Oats, brown rice, quinoa, and whole wheat bread provide steady energy to your brain without spiking blood sugar. Mr. Richard Lopez, 68, a retired plumber from Florida, always skipped breakfast and felt lightheaded by noon. I encouraged him to start his day with steel-cut oats topped with walnuts and berries. A month later, he felt energetic throughout the day and said, "I no longer need an afternoon nap just to function." Whole grains keep your blood sugar stable, protect your blood vessels, and help your brain work smoothly. Do you eat whole grains daily? Type grains in the comments if yes. Now that you know what foods to eat, in the next part I will share simple tips to protect your brain health daily. From hydration habits to morning routines that keep your memory sharp and stroke risk low. Now that you know which foods protect your brain, let's talk about simple daily habits that can keep your memory sharp and lower your stroke risk as you age. Because the truth is, it's not just what you eat, but also how you live each day that shapes your brain health. Let's start with hydration. Many older adults drink very little water because they don't feel thirsty often. But dehydration thickens your blood, reduces brain circulation, and makes you feel dizzy, tired, and forgetful. Let me tell you about Mrs. Ruth Daniels. She was 76, a retired librarian from Colorado. She often complained about headaches, fatigue, and brain fog. When I asked her how much water she drank, she said, "Maybe 2 cups a day. I just don't feel thirsty." I advised her to keep a small bottle of water near her reading chair and take small sips every hour. Within a week, her headaches disappeared and she felt more awake and clear-headed. She told me, "It's such a small change, but it made such a big difference." Do you drink at least 6 to 8 glasses of water daily? Type water in the comments if yes. Next, let's talk about sleep. Good sleep is like a detox for your brain. When you sleep, your brain clears out waste proteins that build up during the day, including those linked to Alzheimer's disease. Let me share the story of Mr. George Hill. He was 80, a retired mechanic from Arizona. He often stayed up late watching TV and woke up tired and groggy. He told me, "I feel like my brain is half asleep all day." I encouraged him to create a sleep routine. No TV an hour before bed, dim lights, and listening to calm music to relax. 2 weeks later, he said, "I feel like I've got my brain back. I can think clearly again." Do you sleep at least 7 hours every night? Type sleep in the comments if yes. Now, let's talk about morning movement. Light exercise in the morning improves blood flow to your brain, delivering oxygen and nutrients that help you think clearly. Mrs. Evelyn Carter, 73, a retired nurse from Washington, always felt stiff and slow in the mornings. I suggested she start her day with 10 minutes of gentle stretches and walking around her garden. Within days, she felt her energy rise, her mood lift, and her mind felt sharper for her morning crossword puzzles. She said, "I start my day feeling alive instead of tired." Do you move your body in the morning? Type move in the comments if yes. Another powerful brain habit is daily learning. Reading, solving puzzles, learning new words, or even memorizing a short poem stimulates your neurons and keeps your brain young. Mr. Abdul Rahman, 77, a retired teacher from New York, started learning Spanish to talk with his neighbors. He told me, "It makes me feel like my brain is growing again." Finally, stay socially connected. Talking to family, friends, or neighbors keeps your mind active and lowers your risk of depression and memory loss. Mrs. Sarah Lopez, 81, used to feel lonely and anxious living alone. Her granddaughter set up weekly video calls with the family. Within weeks, Sarah felt happier, slept better, and her memory improved. She told me, "I don't feel so alone anymore." Do you connect with someone daily? Type connect in the comments if yes. Now you have the knowledge to protect your brain. Avoid the 5 harmful foods, eat brain-boosting foods daily, and follow these simple habits to keep your memory sharp, reduce your stroke risk, and feel confident in your health at any age. Remember, your brain is your greatest asset.